Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to be with you. And may I greet our fellow members, as I usually do, loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of her faith. I do hope that my voice holds out this evening. And a pleasure, a pleasure. Um, I had to take off my glasses because I'm getting a reflection. So bear with me, please.
That's quite
But it's a
okay. That's quite
pleasure.
okay.
It's a pleasure. And I want to speak this evening. And I listen to you. I'm very much concerned about the debt. You know, we've always spoken about it. It's boring, boring, boring. And we are not seeing where it's going. Um, we're not seeing value. We're not seeing we're not seeing developments for all this boring. Cost of living remains high. We're hearing about what's happening in the health sector, education. Roads are being patched, but they don't last long. And garbage collection still um, not regular. Transportation, we hear that we're getting all these buses, electric buses, and um, garbage trucks, but the more things change, the more they remain the same. And so, like all the citizens of Barbados, I'm quite concerned. And I wish that if it wouldn't just be that one or $300, but they should really look at how they're going to help the poor, the indigent, the underemployed, the unemployed. And I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed, and I would like to see a picture that's less bleak for Barbados. But what we're seeing is the glitz and the glamour and the partying associated with the by-election and the events that led up, say, on the East Coast and elsewhere to this by-election. And this brings me, Pastor Ferdy, right into my presentation tonight. I had hoped to delay a little bit before coming on the show this week because I've been having loss of voice on and on, laryngitis, but I do pray that I'll be able to hold out as I respond to what you see on the screen. And I label my session, um, I should have called it forgetfulness too, because it seems as though that there's something that is affecting um, those persons who are ascending the platform in this by election on the side of the BLP. And I wish that they would get their facts straight and start with the foolishness, the fallacy, the forgetfulness, and bring facts. And so I am going to pull up sharply that gentleman who goes by the name Dr. Rommel Springer. And it was in the Sunday, the May, just yesterday newspaper, where it was captioned, Dems can't talk about education. And I'm going to debunk that. I'm going to debunk that. And so he was speaking at the Barbados Labour Party meeting on Thursday night in Husbands Road, the Garden. St. James. And so, Dave, in that, I would, if you did not read it, and I didn't get the clip as I would have, he said um, that the DLP should stay far, 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 far away from the people's children and from people's schools because there's nothing they can tell us about education that we want to hear. Well, I'm going to tell you some facts about education that you should hear, sir. And this is what we're dealing with, Pastor Ferdy. And as you know, I seek to be fair and transparent and balanced. So let us look at what I have captured in a document. And it goes, if as your bio says before becoming, no, 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 sir. If as your bio says before becoming an MP, you were a lecturer and a researcher, your comments here reflect that as the latter, you do not have knowledge and understanding as well as respect for the development of education in Barbados, particularly as it relates to the period just before independence and post independence under the DLP administration at different times. Unlike young upstarts, like the subject of this response, who seem to be on a rampant move to knock down anything that cannot be traced to them and their current party, because nothing existed before 2018 for them. There are those of us like myself who are nonpartisan and objective and fair, who give Jack his jacket and Jenny her coat. Quickly, I will identify a few of these historical and significant contributions to the development of Barbados from both political administrations. And Reverend Ferdy, I find that they get up and speak, and they cannot even speak to things that have occurred before 2018 under the BLP. It is from the narrative they were given 2018 May. So I will start. I will acknowledge adult suffrage and credit Sir Gratly Adams, one of our national heroes, for this. And it was in 1950 that adult suffrage, the right of adult citizens to vote in election, was introduced for all persons 21 years of age and over. And before that, you had to have property and you had to have a significant income to vote and to contest elections. But under their own Sir Gratly Adams in 1950, we gained adult suffrage. And they are abusing adult suffrage, as you can see now in this by election. They're abusing it. In 1963, under the same BLP, the age was reduced from 21 to 18 under the same conditions. That is something you don't trivialize or mess with. Let's look at the next one. And in that election, the first held election under adult suffrage, not mere Motley, but Edna Ermitude Bourne, after whom the East Coast Road is named. She became the first female member of the House of Assembly, not mere Morley. We can't trivialize the rights of women. They have not begun under the leadership of this present Prime Minister. This is another achievement under the BLP, the late Sir Henry Ford, who pioneered the rights of women and set up that commission on the status of women. And I researched and found from the Bar Association website that there were 221 recommendations, and most of them were passed. Then we had the Barbados Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act under the late Tom Adams. Not like the Hope houses that we can't trace or we're not satisfied with where has the money gone. But under Tom Adams, their own, a former prime minister of the BLP, on the BLP, many homeowners are living on properties gained through that Barbados Tenantries Freehold Act. And I come down to say that I have given these examples because there are some things that are not to be dismissed or trivialized under political grandstanding or ignorance. And it's a form of gaslighting. And gaslighting is said to involve a perpetrator denying or distorting reality to make the victim question their own thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. So when we hear that kind of mouthing coming from these platforms, we are to question if gaslighting is not going on to make people feel that only this present administration, and I am looking at the period 2018 to now, because it seemed that nothing happened historically in Barbados before now. And we have some neophytes like the one who said this, who are selling it back or packaging it without any thought to the public. So let's look quickly at education. Pre-independence. In 1962, there was the abolition of school fees in all public schools in Barbados under the DLP. Now he's saying that the Dems, I get real irate when you mess with education. That the Dems did nothing and should stay away. Who brought the abolition of school fees in all public schools in Barbados? Pardon me. And I entered St. Michael's Girls' School in 1967, 5 years after that. Let's move on. What else did the Dems do? That was pre-independence. But the post-independence era borrows under his leadership. It was to use education to transform Barbados. And therefore, he went into independence with a plan, pre-independence, to guide the way forward post-independence. And here it was expanded free secondary education, expanded access to education for young Barbadians. So we had free access. And under here, let's go down further. The next one, he introduced implemented free secondary schools for all with the implementation of what we would call the comprehensive schools. Pastor Further, you're aware of that.
Yes.
He, al-
Yes.
he also introduced school meals because he was concerned about the improved nutritional um, basis and improved health services. So these are the things. Let us look around that time. Cave Hill campus was established in a temporary location on the
On the
Harbor
Deepwater
Road.
Harbor Road in Bridgetown.
And I pause here because this was prefaced in annoyance at the tuition fees that were stopped under the Frances Road administration in 2015. And he, the speaker here, is angry because at that time he was a lecturer, Father help us, a lecturer at KFL. And I'm not saying Father help us because of my throat. I'm saying he was a lecturer,
Hmm.
Father help us, at KFL at that time. And he was one who was chopped or became unemployed. So he's upset at that. Why not create other work? But apparently, 2018 brought him employment. And in 2018, he was parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Education. Show me, sir, what you did. Your tenure as parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Education. I don't see anything there that suggests that you did well. Let's look further. I'm saying don't mess with education, don't gaslight. Then we have all this happened pre independence, 1963, and they had an enrollment of 118 students from Barbados
Wow.
and the
Wow.
Caribbean.
Yes.
And by 1970, under whose administration, the DLP, they were gifted land at Cave Hill to build the campus there. And I look at Dan C. Carter, a historian and an exponent on things educational and education. And he talked about under Erskine Sandiford what occurred. We have the BCC, the expansion of schools, teachers' salary,
The Barbados Community College. Yes.
Barbados
I
Community
went there.
College. All of these occurred under, and the Barbados Community College has grown and even outgrown, offering up to degrees now, offering up now to degrees in further education. Who implemented, introduced these things? The same D's that he's saying stay far from education. Well, I have a word for that side. Every time you have assumed government, you mash up education. You do things with education that cause concern. Let us scroll and see what else that come down here. You are
Modern high
uh,
school.
uh, uh,
Wow.
uh, upset that tuition fees were discontinued for that period when the country was going through a severe economic crisis brought on by world events.
Readjustment.
But you are still blaming the we call it the volcanic ash. You are still blaming COVID for the financial situation in Barbados, the economic situation. But look here at the US 175 million education reform program, and the government had we got 350 million
Million
Barbados
Barbados
dollars
dollars.
for EduTech.
2000.
Where has it gone? You know how I've lamented many times, Pastor Ferdy, here on this platform about where has the money gone, particularly when children had to be taught online during COVID. There is no evidence or little evidence of the success of that program, and the monies are
Spent.
borrowed
Yeah.
to implement that program. And so I am saying who should stay away from education. EduTech 2000 failed under the BLP. They started with the education reform 2 or so years ago. They drop it like a hot potato. Nobody can say anything about it. They start, they stop, they fumble with education, with education. And now he is ranting and raving that the D's should keep away from education when it is under the DLP administration from pre-independence, and under the several times that they would have be in government, that we can see the evidence of excellent deliverables in education. And therefore, I would suggest do not go on these platforms and rant
Mhm.
and rave and give the Barbadian public or misinform the Barbadian public. You're a researcher, sir. You should bring the facts. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I
Yep.
am saying do not misinform. We are not discrediting Pastor Ferdy, the achievements of the BLP. I
No.
have just shown some significant ones. The rights of women that went through parliament and were passed, and that's why women are experiencing and living out these 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 um these offerings through the BLP under Sir Henry Ford. We talked about the Tenantry Act under um, um, the late Tom Adams. We
Tom
talk
Adams.
about adult suffrage and the right
Honor
to
Grantley
vote
Adams.
from 21 to 18. I do not sit here to discredit the BLP for the DLP. And similarly, I would not do it for the DLP to gain points for the BLP. Stop the lying. Stop the
Correct.
misleading. I am asking
Misinformation
the Barbadian public to take what they give you with a grain of salt or even more because they are misleading. And they seem, one of the things that concern me, they seem bent on not having an opposition or a voice that corrects, that reminds, that instructs, and that opposes on point of order and on facts. And this is my concern, that persons are going time and time again to the polls to bring in these neophytes, to bring in these I don't want to say that, but persons who might not have had even opportunities elsewhere to come and manage your affairs uninformed. Do they look to you when they come into the House of Assembly that they have read the documents? No, we saw it just here a couple of months ago with the estimates, both in the lower house and in the upper house. I caution Barbados, and I will say this before I go. Pastor Furley, being a diplomat does not make you a representative of a constituency or a people. So don't give me a bio that says you served at the highest level at UN, in Brussels, in Switzerland, wherever. That does not make you a representative,
of the
a good
people.
representative. And I am facetiously saying this. And why do I say that? Let me explain to you. Because if you listen to that candidate, that is how that candidate makes his presentations.
Hmm.
Why did I say that? Let me explain to you. We are not on a diplomatic floor. We are representing people's interests.
That's
And
right.
so don't come to me and tell me, look at this expansive and impressive bio as a diplomat and in service overseas. Come home and deal with our people's realities truthfully and not with
Mhm.
the hype, not with the hype or the budget given. And I am seeing that we are getting all kinds of programs now through the taxpayers' money, which is financing this by election, I dare say. And I am hearing all kinds of programs, and I'll come back to it. They have what huge prayer and all kind. This administration likes to have acronyms, and behind them there is nothing substantial. And so we are watching very closely, and when my throat is better, I may come back and address this matter. But one of the things I want to say is that they asked if Miss Dujon um, claims that she grew up in Western or lived in Western, why didn't she do anything? What has she done? She was not the parliamentary representative.
Representative. Correct. Correct.
There was one, and I am
Correct.
told persons have spoken to me and said he was a representative who turned up. to take the accolades and the credit after the people did it. And one of the examples was the traffic lights there at Westmoreland by the Nazarene Church. People's mobilized action to get that remedied. And I am told that he turned up at the meeting as the opposition at that time. And the then Minister of Transport was late in coming. And he told the people, don't wait for him, carry on the meeting. And the late Chief Technical Officer of Transport and Works, Mr. Tudor, had to caution him about protocol. And that last MP was known for doing that. He has, there are other things that I have been made aware of, and the neglect in that constituency. So don't bring a diplomat with accolades, a former diplomat with accolades. You should have given him time to work on important matters related to education. I am still questioning that. And to have this rubbish being thrown on us that the D's should stay far from education. Call to my grandmother, go in the corner.
And
I like rap,
and
but yeah.